when I got into positions where I was the only woman on the committee, or where I was the only, I was the chair of the committee and everybody else was a guy. Or in the case of the academic board, there were 200 people, all professors, all heads of school, deans, the vice chancellor sitting next to me. I was the chair of the meeting, and there were maybe 10 women out of 200 people. And I was used to it. I was used to it.
Catedrática emérita de la Universidad de Queensland, en Australia, Cindy Gallois ha sido una figura clave en el desarrollo de los ámbitos de la comunicación interpersonal e intercultural. Expresidenta de la International Communication Association, asociación de la que es Fellow, premio al que se suman numerosos reconocimientos. Sus aportaciones más destacadas son las relacionadas con el desarrollo de la teoría de la adaptación comunicativa en los contactos cara a cara, las relaciones interculturales con la población inmigrante o la interacción médico-paciente. Considera que el lenguaje y la comunicación son nuestras cualidades más importantes como seres humanos y que su estudio pormenorizado abre enormes retos que solamente podremos responder mediante perspectivas teóricas y metodológicas ambiciosas e interdisciplinares.
You have had managing positions really high. You have been the president of important international associations like ICA. How has been leading teams as a woman, from a gender perspective?
I ended up in psychology, which was very fortunate from the perspective of being a woman, because psychology is one of the very few disciplines where people are kind of gender blind. And it's not that people are less sexist than they are in other fields. They're not. They're just the same as everyone else. But psychologists are obsessed with evidence. So that helped me because my early career was formed around that school, that way of thinking, that it's not who you are, it's what evidence you can bring. But then when I left psychology and I went out into the rest of the university, which I actually did quite early, I became a sub-dean. It's not a very powerful appointment, but I was quite young at the time. And I suddenly discovered that nobody else was doing this. I was absolutely shocked. I had no idea that women were having so much trouble. Now, I probably should have been paying more attention. But I just thought, well, I'm sure there was a lot of sexism around me, and I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it. And I didn't call it out. There are probably a lot of things I should have done that I didn't do. I mean, there's no question. But that's what gave me the freedom to chair a committee with 200 people on it, all of them yelling at me.
You have mentioned several times, right, like how psychology is a discipline that really welcomes women, right? Because they focus more in the results. But this is not the case, right? For communication.
No, not so much.
So would you say, and you have talked about this before in other interviews, would you say that in communication has not been as welcoming for women because more human aspects are evaluated? And as far as we start evaluating human aspects, kind of women lose?
There's this thing about you have to have your special idea, your special theory, your special model, your special everything. And it's all about you, So when you do a PhD, for example, and PhDs are incredibly formative, how you work with your supervisor. And often people in the humanities, and that include communication, will just basically say to their students, go for it. Go out, write me a chapter, come back when you've got the chapter written and I'll have a look at it and tell you what's wrong with it. Now, how on earth are women supposed to win in a culture like that? People who already feel self-doubt, lack of self-confidence, because they've been brought up as little girls to not be so self-confident, to not push themselves forward as much. How on earth can that kind of culture help them?
Do you think it is important for women to have female role models, or do you think that that's not?
No, it is very important for some women. It's very important for some women. Because for some women, the fact that they're women is the most important thing in their lives. I think that's an important thing to remember about roles and gender roles and identity. That, we all have a lot of identities. And for some people, their gender identity is their most important identity. That's the thing that defines them as a human being, as a person, as an academic, as whatever it is that they are. Other people, they don't have that. Their ethnicity is more important, their age is more important, their discipline is more important. And so for some women, yes, it is very important to have female role models, but not for others. Not for others.
Do you think that your career would have been different if you had had very influential female teachers?
Maybe, as a very young academic, I would have moved a bit more quickly early in my career if there had been women telling me to basically get up and start doing things. Because that's what women often do when they're talking to younger women. They say, come on, stop being so hard on yourself. Stop sitting there being a victim. Stop being so doubtful. Stop being so unself-confident. Get out there and just do it. And of course, I didn't have that because men don't tend to say that to women. They tend to be much more protective, and certainly the men that I knew didn't say that to me. So I might have got going a bit more quickly. I might have.
You have mentioned before this idea of victim. You have said, I'm going to quote yourself, that it's like there are still only about 20% of professors who are female. To be a successful academic, you need to be very resilient. And this is particularly true for women. You can't frame yourself as a victim. Why?
Because if you frame yourself as a victim, you take away your own power. Because if you frame yourself as a victim, you have no freedom to move. It's a truism in communication that we can only change our own behavior. You can't succeed if you have no power. And if you make yourself a victim, you take away your power. Because we get power from giving ourselves power. We don't get power from getting it from other people. We give ourselves power and we take the power that we have.
Cindy, do you think that within the field of communication, right, like intergroup communication, intercultural communication, media studies, within our field, do you think that women have had enough visibility?
Well, how much is enough? I mean, can you ever have enough? Women have had quite a lot of visibility. I think there's some other groups who need more visibility right at the moment. People in certain ethnic groups. At the moment, there are very, very few people in some ethnic groups in communication, and that really needs to change. We need more recognition of non-English work in communication, and that really needs to change.
What is your contribution that you are most proud of? I mean, there are so many because you have had such a diverse curriculum, right? But is there anything specifically that you are?
In terms of research, I'm very proud of what we've been able to do with communication accommodation theory. We've really moved, that's been a team effort, not just me. And obviously Howie Giles started it. But we've been able to really do a lot with that. So in terms of research, I'd say probably that. In terms of impact, I think the work that I've done in health, where, we've really been trying to make the situation in hospitals in particular less unpleasant, more pleasant. And I think in life, probably what I was able to do with my students, my PhD students in particular, that's because that's the future. That's the next generation.
My final question, when people hear your name in the future, what would you like they remember about you and your work?
Oh my goodness. I think I'd like people to remember that I tried to deal with difficult problems. Whether I was successful or not, I don't know, but at least I tried to deal with hard problems. I think that's what I would like.